What's going on, my people? Welcome back to another episode of the Stop the Count podcast. In this episode, I'll be talking about what happened over the weekend's UFC Fight Night, the Showtime boxing card, the Matchroom boxing card, Chivas' game versus Necaxa, and la Seleccion Mexicana's Copa Oro games versus Jamaica, and the final versus Panama. First, getting into the boxing cards and starting with the Matchroom card. It was headlined by undisputed champion alyciabaumgardner versus christinalinardatou. First, talking about Marccastro. Mark had to pull out of his fight due to an injury, so we'll have to wait and see his 10-round debut. For the co-main event, andycruz versus Juan Carlos Burgos. It was a great performance from Andy, just dominant. A great boxing display by Andy, especially considering it was his debut and in a 10-round fight. For the main event, alyciabaumgardner versus christinalinardatou. The fight started off great for Alicia. She was landing everything at will, but after that, the fight was really close with both fighters showing flashes. Alicia just looked one step ahead the whole time. The fight ended in a unanimous decision victory from Baumgardner as she retained all of her belts. Now for the Showtime card headlined by Frankmartin and artemharutyunyan. The co-main event fight between nonitodonaire versus Alexandro Santiago was cancelled and moved to the Crawford versus Spence card. So that means I will only be talking about the main event, frankmartin versus artemharutyunyan. Artem started the fight off great, pressuring Martin and not letting Martin dictate the pace of the fight. Martin was doing a good job countering Artem and landing some good body shots. But Artem just looked like the better fighter most of the early part of the fight. The sixth round is, in my opinion, where the fight changed. Martin was doing a better job inserting himself into the fight. After that round, Frank still didn't look the best, as Frank still seemed to be taking the fight slow and his punch volume was not where we usually see it. But that's really due to Artem's pressure. The last couple of rounds is when Frank really started to pick it up and even dropped Artem in the last round with a body shot. Now, I had the fight way closer than the unofficial scorecard, as I did have Frank Martin winning 115 to 112. I'm pretty sure on the unofficial scorecard, they still had Artem winning by 2 rounds even after the knockdown. I'm not too sure who was scoring the unofficial card, but I just don't think it was that right. This was not the best performance from Frank, but who do you guys want to see him fight next? Maybe a rematch for this fight? Maybe he fights Edwin De Los Santos? Let me know in the comments. For the UFC fights, getting into azmatmaksum versus tysonnam. Maxum was doing a good job on the feet. Tyson was no pushover, he was hanging in there with Maxum. Tyson was doing a good job landing leg kicks. The rounds were very close and hard fought, and after 3 rounds, I had Maxum winning by the slightest of margins. And so did the judges, as Maxum pulled off a narrow split decision victory as he was able to keep his perfect record. But that goes to show you the level of fighters in the UFC. Now for nazimsadykhov versus terrancemckinney. What a good fight this was for how long it lasted. Some very good groundwork from both. But it was Sadykhov who was able to pull off the submission victory in the second round after taking McKinney's back and trapping his arm behind him. It was damn near impossible for McKinney to defend that submission with his arm trapped behind him. Now for ottmanazaitar versus franciscoprado. What a fight. It lasted less than a round, but franciscoprado was just amazing in my opinion. Now, some people may say it's a debatable stoppage victory, but hell no. There's no way that fight should have kept on going. You clearly see Ottman stop protecting himself, and I believe that was a perfect stoppage. Nonetheless, it was a good performance from the 21-year-old Argentinian Francisco Prado, a true prospect to keep your eye on. Now for the co-main event, jackdellamaddalena versus bassilhafez. What an amazing fight this was. Extremely close, extremely hard fought. Jack was the major favorite in everyone's eyes coming into this fight, and it showed when they were on their feet. But on the ground and clinch, Hafez was the better man. Hafez is probably a Dagestani with all the double legs he was landing and attempting. After rewatching the fight, I still believe Jack won the fight as I gave him the second round and also the third. Jack was just doing way more damage on Hafez while Hafez was just racking up control time. Jack did a good job in the third keeping the fight on the feet, and that allowed him to show the dog that Jack has inside of him. The fight ended and Jack won by split decision, a decision I'm not upset with, as like I said, the second was really close. But who do you guys want to see Jack fight next? For me, I want to see him fight his original opponent for the UFC 290 card, Sean Brady. Mostly due to Brady's wrestling than anything else, that would be an extremely great fight and also a very tough test for Jack. For the main event, Hollyholm versus buenosilva, another fight that ended pretty fast as Silva was able to lock on a ninja choke, tapping out Holly in the second round. Silva finished the fight early and got the win over Holmes, really surprising many people. Now, as for the card, it wasn't the best, but it wasn't the absolute worst card I've seen. Not all the cards could be great. Now for soccer, starting with the Chivas versus Necaxa game. Paunovic made a very surprising decision by sitting Pollo Briseño to start Lalo Torres in the defensive midfield role in his 4-3-3. Now, the first 25 minutes of the match were very much an even, very good stalemate between the two teams until, like I said, the 25th minute when Nene Beltran scored a nice goal from outside the box. It was, in my opinion, a good goal, but Necaxa would have hoped for more from former Chivas goalkeeper Raul Gudiño. And that was really all that happened. The first half ended with Chivas up 1-0, and some people would say it left more to be desired. Chivas would attack down the wing instead of the middle, and I feel that's where they struggled, as Necaxa defenders were playing a really rough game with Yael Padilla, a lot of missed foul calls, and on the other side, Conel Brizuela. He's absolute shit. He has no room in the starting 11, zero creativity, zero chances created, a danger level of 0. For a player that's making the amount of money he is, you'd expect more. Now for the second half, it was a good start to the second half for Chivas as they were attacking really well, but the second goal just wouldn't fall. Other than that, it was a very quiet second half. Jesus Brigido came on and he was able to score in less than a minute from the time he substituted in. This was his first goal in the Mexican First Division. The game ended with a score of 2-0, making this Chivas' first clean sheet of the torneo. I don't think it had much to do with Huacho, as he really didn't have to make a save. That's in no way a bad thing. I'd rather have this happen than Huacho have to actually make saves. Necaxa did have 2 balls come off the post, which was a big reason for the clean sheet as well. This was a really great all-around game for the team. Everyone played a crucial role in this one, but for someone that I would say stood out the most was Nene Beltran. He played a big role in both goals scored and really made chances out of nothing. Padilla wasn't able to score, but like I said in my last video, goals aren't everything. You have to actually look at how the player played and how they acted on the field. As for someone who I thought had a subpar game, that was Lalo Torres. He just can't seem to get comfortable with the ball on his feet, and he's not good defensively. But being comfortable on the ball is also a problem for Oso Gonzalez as well, as when he came in, he just looked pretty bad as well. Hopefully for the next jornada after the League's Cup, Guti is able to play and will have a more complete midfield. Chivas also played a friendly Sunday versus Athletic Club de Bilbao from the Spanish First Division. Chivas were able to win the match 2-0 and took home the trophy on penalties. I'm not going to criticize anything. It's a friendly. It doesn't matter much. Pavel Perez and Yael Padilla were able to score and everyone was able to put away their penalties. Also, for a player who's debuting that no one is really talking about, Raul Martinez. Raul had a very good game besides the first couple of minutes where he lost the ball in a crucial place, but he's also another quality canterano everyone is looking past due to how Yael and Brigido are doing. And staying with that game, but talking about Athletic Club's goalkeeper, Alex Padilla. The young, promising 19-year-old goalkeeper is eligible to play for Mexico as his mom is Mexican. It was said Diego Coca was really trying to convince him to switch allegiances over to Mexico. I really like how he played. A good goalkeeper that probably, if he were to switch over right now, is probably the best Mexican goalkeeper with the ball at his feet. For the Mexico game versus Jamaica, Jimmy Lozano came out with the usual lineup. The only change was the inevitable sitting of Edson Alvarez due to injury. What more is there to say about the start of the game for Mexico? 2 minutes into the game and they were already up 1-0 after an incredible counterattack. Finally, Henry Martin is able to score. Mexico were playing a very good counterattacking game And in one of those counterattacks came a free kick that Luis Chavez was able to finally put away. An amazing goal. The game went into half with a score of 2-0. And what is there to say about the first half for Mexico? An amazing half, played very smart. The defense was able to hold up from the Jamaican pressure and still go into the half maintaining a clean sheet. The counterattack was obviously on point with both goals coming off of a counterattack. Now, in my opinion, the best player of the half was Jorge Sanchez. Yes, Henry Martin and Luis Chavez scored goals, but Jorge was key to the clean sheet and starting the counterattacks for the second goal. The second half was very quiet until the 93rd minute, with Piojoalvarado scoring in the last seconds of the game, ending the game with a score of 3-0, giving Mexico the win. What a game from Mexico, being able to hold Jamaica scoreless, as many people, including myself, thought they would at least go into penalties with Jamaica, if not lose. For the Gold Cup final versus Panama, Jimmy sent out his regular 4-3-3. Panama was doing a great job defending with a very high pressure and catching Mexico on the counterattack when Mexico would lose the ball while attacking. The first half was a very tough, well-contested game with both teams having good chances and Mexico even having a goal disallowed due to offsides. The Mexican midfield was really looking bad as Panama was really having their way with them. And it was just a horrible first half performance from Urielantuna, missing easy chances. This is a good look into a career that what could have been. From training at the grounds of the current Champions League champions with the likes of Phil Foden, Jadon Sancho, Brahim Diaz, to being any other player in the ligamx and being hated by most of your nation's fans. Piojoalvarado is on so much better form and is still being sat for this trash can. The second half was another extremely well, hard-fought half. Mexico was really looking to attack, and Panama did have their chances, but nothing major came from it. The real big thing came at the 89th minute. Yes, the end of the game when Santiago Jimenez, who had just came in for Henry Martin, is able to put away a beautiful goal coming off of a counter that put Mexico up 1-0. And that's how it ended. An amazingly hard-fought game. Mexico did a great job, an all-around good performance, but still, it's the Copa Oro. Nothing major. This should be the way it ends always. Now, the big question is who will be Mexico's manager? Will they make Jimmy Lozano the full-time manager or will they choose a different path? For me, there's no question for who should be manager. It should 100% be Jimmy Lozano. And like I've said before, yes, he's not the most experienced, but this is where he gains his experience in matches like these, in tournaments like these. Thank you guys for staying until the end. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, follow me on Twitter at StopTheCount10. See you later on this week as I talk about the upcoming UFC Fight Night and boxing schedule. There's also an important question in that video for you. Don't forget to check it out. See you then.